I'm reading this piece on Jerry Richardson, the former Carolina Panthers disgraced
they took down
owner.
a statue.
They're taking down that statue.
Yeah, they took it down yesterday.
That was worked into the contract that had to stay on. If you remember David Tepper, now who is the Carolina Panthers owner, who was a hedge fund billionaire. Once he bought the Carolina Panthers, worked into the contract was that he had to mandate. It was mandated that the 12-foot, 10-inch Jerry Richardson statue surrounded by 2 Panthers.
And the Panthers look sick, dude.
Yeah.
Like if we're just talking about the technical skill involved in sculpting the statue, those Panthers are 2 of the most badass-looking big cats I have ever seen. And I couldn't help but think what it felt like what a power trip it must have been for Richardson to go stand outside that stadium and he sees this 13-foot, super realistic, beautifully sculpted image of himself staring back at him.
So in the contract, it was mandated that the statue had to stay. Like it was going to live on forever. The only way Tepper could ever remove the statue was if it became a safety hazard. And vandals have chipped away at the base of the sculpture and made its edges jagged. And that's the problem.
Wow.
And look, new ownership saying like they still have the possibility
We were going to keep it.
of replacing it.
We were going to keep
And
it.
Tepper's even saying that we still have the chance to replace it. And there was a Carolina Panthers spokesman that says, if you believe that statue will be replaced, I got a bridge to sell you.
Oh, that is that's fantastic.
So just a year and a half into the ownership.
You know where I think that's a bit interesting, Jordan, is that earlier we were talking about that kid who's had that really racist, stupid Snapchat video, and how LSU as a public institution is saying that legally Drew Dollar is that legally they can't despite abhorring what he said, that they can't do anything about it. That to me look like sometimes from a PR perspective, you got to find that loophole, okay? And it looks like the Panthers did that, and thus far, to my understanding, LSU has not. And where it's going to be a bit interesting, and I don't know if this is going to blow up or not, but like, will other coaches in other schools use this whole Drew Dollar saga to dirty recruit with, right? I mean, can they sit there and say, well, look at LSU, look at who they're allowing into their school, like they don't really care, et cetera, et cetera. And
I mean, we've heard some of the tales told on recruiting trails as far as dirty recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, anything is fair game.
This is
fair in love and recruiting.
I mean, from as far as recruiting goes, this is easy. This is content. This is video. This is the kid's face.
Yeah.
This is his hatred into the camera. Absolutely, there are other schools that are recruiting against that. That's a slippery slope in the Southeastern Conference, but I can tell you that probably the majority of the teams are doing it.
Yeah, just interesting thought. Just, I mean, maybe sometimes you gotta find ways around the lawyers to do the right thing.
Which, by the way, I didn't think that I could hate that kid, or I hate the word hate.
Yeah.
But
ironic,
dislike
but I get it.
Somebody more after their first video. Once they put out a second one, I thought if the Dollar kid put out a second video apologizing, that at least he would soften the intensity around it. He put out a second video apologizing, and I can't stand the kid even more. I mean, good Lord, you thought he was unlikable after the first video.
I haven't watched it yet, but Sammy was kind of giving me a rundown before, and I'm gonna watch this commercial break. But it sounds like his response was like telling everyone to chill out.
Okay, so let me paint the scene. He's in his room. It's dark. It's like nighttime. He's in his bed, doesn't have a shirt on. And he's just like coming from under the covers like, y'all chill out. Like, if you know me, you know I'm not like that. Like, y'all need to calm down. Like,
yeah, so the advocate,
come on, man. And he just starts laughing.
The advocate has a direct quote. It says, F, I can't do nothing about it. I mean, if you actually like knew me, you know that's not actually what I think. It's literally just like a meme, which is obviously bad. I know that, but yeah, you're right. I can't deny it. Just please have some mercy. Yeah, please, bruh. I don't know.
Get out of here, bro.
Yeah, sorry, Joe.
Get out.
But I think LSU needs to find a way to rectify the situation, like Richardson did, like Tepper did with Richardson's statue. Hey, jagged edges get you every time.
That's a great out though for Carolina, because I really did when hearing about the sale of the Carolina Panthers and learning that Jerry Richardson, I mean, you want to talk about some narcissistic behavior, making sure that your 13-foot statue stays behind forever on the team that you founded and owned. But you could see
how
Tepper,
about building that statue in the first place to yourself?
And he designed it. He designed it.
Yeah.
But you could see it in Tepper's face when explaining and asked about the statue, like we are dying for a way out.
The only place where Jerry screwed up is like, man, if you give me that power, you got it twisted. If you think I'm sculpting myself in a business suit holding a football, he should have been riding those Panthers. I would make them sculpt me in full battle armor, riding like for an LSU statue. I'd be riding a tiger, maybe with like an LSU flag flying in the air.
How great would it have been if
statue.
he would have been shaving one of the Panthers' legs? Wasn't that his deal?
Yeah.
That he liked to walk around the office and tell the secretaries and tell the females in the office that he wanted to shave their legs?
Man, hey, look, I look, man. When it comes to sexual preferences and things that you're into, everybody's into something. So if you're into shaving legs, that's
Old man
cool.
Richardson,
just don't harass people at the workplace about it. Like, shave your wife's legs. Shave people's legs who want their legs to be shaven by you. I'm not judging you based on that, right? You got foot things, you got, I don't know, nose things, whatever you got. That's cool. It's all good. Human beings can get turned on by anything and everything. Some human beings get turned on by recruiting. And speaking of recruiting, Jordy, Caleb Williams, the number one dual threat quarterback in the nation,
he must be in radio,
has set a commitment date. He is on July 4th. #GoUSA. He is going to choose between Maryland, Oklahoma, and LSU. I want to ask you, where I sit right now, it looks like LSU's third on that list.
Yeah, he's
what do
going
you think?
Oklahoma.
You think it's guaranteed?
I think he's going to Oklahoma. I think when you read all the press around Caleb Williams, if you paid attention to his recruitment over the last couple of months, it seems like Oklahoma has really kind of stepped out in front and become the team to beat. I think when LSU took when they took the commitment from Garrett Nussmeier a couple of weeks back, they had kind of played their hand. They had showed their hand on what they were feeling for quarterbacks. I think that they would like to sign multiple guys in this class, but I believe that they have. When speaking of LSU, I think that they got their guy.
Yeah.
Right, in Nussmeier. Williams, obviously a very high-end player and somebody that has tons of interest.
Well, it is interesting though. If that's what turns him off, though, I mean, he's going to have a ton of competition at Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Rattler's what? Is Rattler a redshirt freshman this year?
I'm talking from LSU standpoint. I think that they have
they
lost
backed
a little
off
bit
Caleb
momentum.
Williams a bit. Okay.
When you look at the numbers in the class, when you look at the needs, and you look at the way that LSU has recruited the quarterback position, because let's just look at it right now from LSU's standpoint. They are in a situation presently and looking into the future where I can't recall LSU football being in my lifetime. When you talk about a lineage of quarterbacks that are set up as far as in line and do not have to play immediately to save the program starting today, right? Miles Brennan has paid his dues. His time is now. He's 4 years on the campus, and he'll finally take a meaningful snap as a fourth-year junior.
And he's assuming that leadership role. He was the first to register to vote with what Coach O was talking about the other day, where all the players went and got registered.
So you have Miles Brennan now for assumingly the next 2 years as your starter. Max Johnson, by all accounts, by whether it's the social media or you're speaking to anybody in LSU, he's going to have a true chance to be the starting quarterback next season. Truly, I believe that they're semi-confident at this point without having a chance to really work with Johnson on the field outside of 3 spring practices, that if Brennan goes down this year, they're confident to look at him and say, get in there and go play. So Johnson's going to have a chance to start, in my opinion, next year in competition.
Yeah, you got to compete every year. I mean, this year, Miles is going to have to win that job.
So after that, let's say that Max Johnson plays 3 years. He's got a successful 3-year run at LSU. Next up is Garrett Nussmeier. Right? Nussmeier is a guy that comes in, top 50 quarterback, a pro-style passer, a really good athlete, can do all what LSU is asking from that position to accomplish. Walker Howard, the number 1 quarterback as an underclassman in the state of Louisiana, is set to commit tomorrow, make his announcement. By all accounts, that's LSU. You go from Max Johnson to Walker Howard in a lineage of quarterbacks, and then you pass on that starting role from either Arch Manning or Eli Holstein, the two freshman quarterbacks at Zachary and Newman that LSU has both respectively offered. So you're talking about a lineage of quarterbacks really for the next decade when you look at LSU, where they've got their guys tabbed, right? Now, I know that the 8th and 9th grade recruiting of quarterbacks can change overnight. And, you know, I think of a guy like, who was the guy out of Utah a couple of years back that Cameron and Miles offered as an 8th grader? Was it Zadok Dinkelman?
Oh, yeah, Zadok Dinkelman.
Where did he end up? I think he's at Texas Baptist or somewhere, some small school in Texas.
All-time name, though.
Zadok Dinkelman. But when you look at Arch Manning, you heard David Brewerton talk about Eli Holstein. Brewerton is his head coach. And you know, we had a chance to talk.
That's a potential play, though, right? I mean, as Brewerton points out, it is interesting that like he's never really played. Like he's never had a high-pressure high school start.
He doesn't have any varsity film.
Yeah.
And we talked to somebody at LSU who was asking from LSU standpoint in their conversation to Brewerton when they said, "Coach, do you think we should offer him?" And Brewerton fired right back, "Yes, you should absolutely offer him." And LSU offered him on the spot. So you're looking at a lineage of quarterbacks right now. You got them on campus in Miles Brennan, in Max Johnson, and you've got committed Garrett Nussmeier. Walker Howard set to make an announcement tomorrow. It looks like all signs are pointing towards LSU. Then you talk about the two freshmen in the state, and Arch Manning and Eli Holstein, that LSU's recruiting as hard as anybody. And you're looking at a setup over the next decade of a layout of what LSU's quarterback position could look like. And, you know, from a program that just 2 years ago was year in, year out, hoping and praying that their guy was on the campus, it gives you some stability at that spot in where LSU has been insecure over the last, 25 years?
What about the big guy? Big Fave texts me. What about TJ Finley? How does he fit into the mix right now? 6'6", 250. I mean, the size jumps off the page.
Just a man, right? I mean, he's got the NFL body today. He's got the NFL arm today. I think that, you know, from an athletic standpoint, he needs to improve. I think that happens inside of the weight room.
Yeah.
You know, I think that the college workouts, the college weight program is really going to help him. I mean, look, we talked to Brad Johnson, Max's dad, a couple of weeks back. He was explaining to us they have a full facility at his house.
Yeah, I mean, that is where you get into some of the advantages that I also experienced in high school, which is if your father played for a long time in the NFL, not only going to have stuff like that, but like, you think about the wealth of information resources that he has at his disposal, right? If you're Max Johnson, who better to ask about anything involving quarterback play than your Super Bowl winning quarterback father who played for over a decade in the NFL, right? I mean, they're even the same position. Like some of the advantage that I had is I got to kind of pick the brains of old linemen that my old man used to play with. I mean, he doesn't even have to do that. He can just go straight to dad and get exactly what he needs. So yeah, he's in a good he's in a good setup. I mean, Max is in terms of during this quarantine still being able to get the work done and still being able to grow.